Hey everyone, and welcome! We're about to dive into one of the most exciting and high-stakes races happening in medicine right now. It's a true quest to take a world-changing drug and put it into a simple pill. This is a big one, so let's jump right in.
I want you to just think about this for a second. What if a treatment that is literally changing millions of lives could be delivered without a single needle? A medicine that could help so many more people, all because it's just easier to take. Well, that's not just a hypothetical. It's the billion-dollar question that has the entire pharmaceutical industry racing.
So how did we even get here? Well, it all started with this class of injectable drugs called GLP-1s. Now, they were originally for diabetes, but then, wow, they turned out to be unbelievably effective for weight loss. This created absolute blockbuster drugs. You know them, Ozempic, Wegovy, and they completely flipped the script on how we treat obesity.
And when we talk about stakes, I mean, look at this number. The market for these drugs is expected to rocket to $200 billion by 2030. $200 billion. With that kind of money on the table, you can bet the pressure to innovate and find the next big thing is just immense.
But, there's always a but. For all their amazing success, these drugs have a pretty big hurdle. They're injections. And that comes with a whole package of issues, right? You've got people who just hate needles, the hassle of doing a weekly shot, they need to be stored properly, and for some people, there's even a bit of a social stigma. These aren't small things. They're real roadblocks for a lot of potential patients.
And that leads us directly to the grand prize, the thing everyone is chasing, what's being called the Holy Grail pill. I mean, think about it. The company that finally cracks the code and makes an oral version that's just as good as the shot, they don't just win, they could completely dominate the entire market.
So what's really driving this multi-billion-dollar quest? It's actually something incredibly simple, something fundamentally human. People just prefer pills. The huge majority of us, if given the choice, would take a pill over an injection any day of the week. And that one simple fact is fueling an incredible amount of research and money.
And it just makes sense, right? A daily pill is just so much more convenient. You toss it in your bag, you take it anywhere. You don't have to think about keeping it cold or finding a private place to do an injection. It fits into your life in a way a needle just can't. Okay, so if a pill is the obvious winner, you've got to be asking, why don't we have a perfect one yet? Well, that's because this is a truly massive scientific challenge. We're talking about one of the most difficult problems in modern drug development. It's incredibly hard.
So what's the big deal? Why can't scientists just, stuff the same medicine into a little capsule and call it a day? The answer, it turns out, is our own bodies. Our digestive system is basically a war zone for drugs like this. Seriously, think of it like running a gauntlet. The second that pill hits your stomach, it's plunged into an acid bath. If any of it survives that, it then gets ambushed by a swarm of digestive enzymes in your intestines whose only job is to break things down. And then, even if a tiny fragment of the drug makes it past all that, it still has to figure out how to get through the wall of your intestine and into your bloodstream. It's a brutal journey.
And all of this brings us to this key scientific concept, bioavailability. It's basically the answer to the question, how much of the drug actually makes it to where it needs to go to do its job? For the first oral GLP-1 that got approved, that number is less than 1%. Let that sink in. Less than 1% of the drug you swallow actually gets used by your body. That just shows you what a monumental hurdle this really is.
All right, so with that massive challenge laid out, let's meet the contenders. The biggest names in pharma are all locked in this race, and they're each coming at it with a really unique strategy to try and beat that digestive gauntlet.
Okay, so here's the lineup. You've got Novo Nordisk, the company behind Ozempic, with their pill, Rybelsus. Then there's Eli Lilly with a drug called Orforglipron, and Pfizer is in the race with Danuglipron. Now, the really cool part is that they aren't all doing the same thing. This is where the scientific chess match gets super interesting.
It really boils down to two main strategies. On one side, you have Novo Nordisk with what I like to call the armored car approach. They take the existing drug molecule and basically bolt on an enhancer to protect it and help it sneak through. Then you have Lilly and Pfizer with the secret agent approach. They've built entirely new, smaller molecules from scratch designed to be stealthy enough to slip right past the body's defenses. Two totally different ways to solve the same problem.
And the prize for cracking this code, it is huge. We're not just talking about winning over the people who are already on injections. The real jackpot is in massively expanding the market. A simple, effective pill could bring in millions of new patients who would have never, ever considered giving themselves a shot.
But hang on a second, we're not at the finish line just yet.
Even with all these amazing scientific leaps forward, there are still some pretty big hurdles that all of these companies have to clear before they can declare victory.
One of the biggest hurdles is what's called the efficacy gap. So the top-tier injections can get you weight loss of over 20%, which is just incredible. The oral drugs are getting closer, but as you can see, they're not quite there yet. Closing that gap is priority number one for all of these research teams.
And that's not all. You've still got to manage those gastrointestinal side effects like nausea that these drugs are famous for. Manufacturing these incredibly complex pills is also way more expensive. And for some of them, you have these restrictive rules, like having to take it on an empty stomach and then wait to eat, which, kind of chips away at the whole convenience argument.
So what does this all add up to for the future? Well, the great thing about this intense race is that it's pushing us into a whole new era. It's an era that's less about a single winner and more about creating an incredible menu of choices for doctors and for patients.
And that's really the key takeaway here. The end game isn't about finding one single pill to rule them all. Instead, we're building a future where your doctor has a whole pharmacy of different options, each with its own unique set of pros and cons.
This is what lets us have truly patient-focused treatment. So for someone who says, I want the absolute most weight loss possible no matter what, the most powerful injection might still be the best choice. But for someone else who values convenience above all else and hates needles, a pill that's maybe slightly less potent is the perfect answer. It's about matching the treatment to the person.
So, as this incredible race for the Holy Grail pill thunders on, the real win isn't going to be for just one company. It's going to be for all of us, for patients who will have more options and more control over their health than ever before. And that leaves us with a pretty big question. As medicine moves away from a one-size-fits-all magic bullet, how does that change how we think about our own health?